he started his venture into film with a script for Money No Enough. So a lot of people, the first Money No Enough, which of course later on became a series like many of his other movies, was actually written by him, but it was not directed by him. And he himself directed another movie in the same year, right, called Hitman in the City. And that was essentially, that year was his foray into the film industry. He became a legitimate filmmaker from that point onwards. And with Homerun, which was released in 2003, he found critical success, and the rest of the movies that he continued to make became more and more recognized and popular with people here in Singapore. So in 2005, he was awarded the Cultural Medallion for his contributions in film. In whatever way you see it, in Singapore film, the scene locally, he is a director that you need to pay attention to if you want to understand local film and local film production. The reason being, he is one of the most, if not the most prolific directors in Singapore. Up to date, he has made more than 20 films. So if you break that down, right, from 1998 onwards, he was practically making one film a year, okay, or more. And I think this productivity, there's something to be said about it. We can see that as his attempt to explore the film medium, as well as to find himself as an artist in this medium. And it's also an important part of the film industry and the way it develops in Singapore. So that is why I would like to spend some time to look at him tonight. And you have the Jack Neo's critically acclaimed Homerun. How would you sum this up? Yeah, okay, something like that. But I would say those already are big concepts. So if you want to break it down further, you can just say that siblings, they had an adventure with a pair of shoes, right? So you sum it up like that. And these films arguably are high concept films because they allow you to understand the story or the plot, what's happening in the story, in a very simple, digestible way. Okay, and that is what directors want, because they want people to be able to get what they are trying to say very easily. And you think about Jack Neo, actually you will find that what nostalgia does and what nostalgia serves for people who are into business, okay, who are hoping to sell you something, is really they help to promote sales, right? And I think Jack Neo is very astute in this manner. He looks at this and he knows that it's going to work, and therefore he goes for it. And whenever he makes a movie of a particular theme or topic, it would target a particular audience. And many of his films actually banks on this idea of nostalgia for different people in order to get them to go catch the movie. So, for example, you have A Boys to Men, which came out a couple of years ago, and then it ran into a series, and it was very popular with the men who have served army in Singapore, okay, because you probably will be able to identify with many of the things that were in this film and in the subsequent films that came out. Okay, and I'm going to talk something more about this series in a short while, but that's one of them. And then you have the I'm Not Stupid series, and you have the other kampong series that we are going to be looking more closely at today. Okay, if you've watched this already, Jack Neo's latest film that came out, you will know that essentially this is about kampong life. Right? It's a film about life in the kampongs. And I would say so far it's been doing pretty well at the box office. It's also very attractive to a certain group of people. It was estimated to have taken back 1.65 million just in the first week. I think that's very phenomenal. Of course, it was not as big a win as his Our Boys to Men series. So apparently, the highest grossing movie that Jack Neo has made was Our Boys to Men Part 2, about the frogman. And that movie grossed 2.83 million for the first weekend, okay, which is a lot more than this one. And it's a phenomenal success for him. But nonetheless, I would argue, for a local movie that was made by Jack Neo, that came out and had to contest with bigger, better, more heavier budget movies like From Macau to Vegas and The Revenant, he has done very well. Okay, and I would want to argue that this commercial success that he enjoys from this movie really stems from the fact that he made a bet and he chose to focus the movie on a particular topic and a particular period. Okay, and just coming out from SG50 last year, people are still rather nostalgic about it. And at the same time, if you have watched any of the trailers of this movie, you would have found that the way he advertised it was, he didn't say, come and watch the movie. He actually said, bring your akong and ama, your grandpa and your grandma, to watch the movie with you. Okay, and he was right there, because these are the people that wanted to watch the movie and would have watched the movie already. So I would want to attribute the success to the things that we've spoken about earlier. Okay, things about it being nostalgic and how it's a simple story. It gets people to appreciate what he wants to say in very few words, and therefore you don't find so many complications trying to gain access to it, and so on and so forth. That's about his commercial venture and his commercial successes. And I think Jack Neo, he is quite adept as a filmmaker in that way. He has a nose for what will sell and what will not. So he makes his films very strategically, and he releases them very strategically as well. So at the end of long time ago, you will know that actually this is not the end of the film. There will be a part 2 next month. And of course, if you want to finish the film, then you logically go back and watch it in the big screen again, okay, next month. And by doing that, he ensures that his sales continue. Okay, very smart move. Jack Neo can also be seen as a critique, okay, for our society here in Singapore, and how his films can be said to be social critiques or maybe even political critiques of the local scene. So I would say, in general, so far, the things that he's been doing, to me, they all can fall under 3 main categories, and they are about money, or about education, or a past that is idealized in different ways, or a mixture of all 3, okay, different permutations. But essentially, these are the things that he has been interested in, and which he used to create his movies. Okay, and to an extent, I would also say that Jack Neo should be given credit for trying to point out what is not right. Perhaps he may not always prescribe to us a solution, but at least he is conscious enough and conscientious enough to tell you, hey, you know, this is not very correct, or I think something is wrong here, and maybe we should think about this a bit more. And the way he approaches his film, I think artistically, there's nothing new. He's not an auteur. He is not definitely Alfred Hitchcock. He is not Wong Kar-wai. You know, he's not these names who came up with their own brand of filming stories. Okay, they have a particular style that is consistent in the way they make movies. Okay, but Jack Neo is not like that. I think his style is a mishmash of many different things, influenced by quite a number of directors, and at the same time, he likes to play with computer generated effects, okay, or CG. He likes to create the slow motion effect in his movies, and a lot of it comes out as well in long time ago. To me, I think it's a little exaggerated, but you know, that's the way he creates comic relief to an extent. But I think two things to be mentioned here, which we should give him credit for, is his use of language and the way he uses stock characters in his stories. So first, how does he use language? I think it is quite clear, okay, from the outset when he started making movies with that 1998 Hitman in the City, about this hired killer who was played by Mark Lee, and who supposedly came from Hong Kong, hired to assassinate someone in Singapore, and very metaphysical as well, in that he, as in Jack Neo, he was the narrator of the story, and he kept coming in to interrupt the story, and he kept saying, what do you think will happen next? Of course, we are not going to get this to happen because it's going to be boring, so maybe we'll do this instead, or maybe we can do that. Okay, and he has such intermission conversations with you, with the audience, which makes watching the film very tedious. Okay, but at the same time, it was also, I would argue, one of the most artistic films he has made to date, because of that metaphysical, meta-narrative kind of approach that he took. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make is, from that point on, from 1998 onwards, it's been clear in his movies he used a lot of languages, mostly dialects of Chinese origins, and as well as the Singlish that, you know, we have popularized here in Singapore. So by doing that, I would imagine, you know, watching a movie of his would be experiencing Singapore in its purest form. So a Singapore film which uses Hokkien, Teochew, Cantonese, and a little bit of Malay, okay, and then a little bit of Singlish, becomes very Singaporean, okay, and it is very reflective of the kind of society that we have, and at the same time now it becomes recognizably Jack Neo, okay, because unlike the other prominent and up-and-coming directors we have, he is the one who dares to use this in such a free and fluid way, and I think most of the time he succeeds in doing that. Okay, and the stock characters also gives a certain dimension, or maybe multiple dimensions, to his film, because when you have a stock character, say you have someone who is clearly mercenary and he is all about making money and how to make more money, it becomes very comedic and at the same time predictable to us. But it is through this laughing at himself, or laughing at the character, and therefore at yourself or people that you are reminded of, okay, that gets people to start thinking more about what's at stake here, okay, after the laughter dies down. Okay, and I think that is what his film gives us. It's valuable in that way. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what or how he has contributed in the local film scene, if you look at his movie I'm Not Stupid and how it very openly criticizes the MOE system of streaming in primary school, you actually get to see a very interesting thing happening. Are you guys familiar with the film, or should I give you a synopsis of it? So I thought about whether to let you watch a clip of this film, but in the end I decided not to, mostly because I wanted you to catch the full story of another one. Okay, so I've decided not to show you a clip of this movie, but the film is about these three friends you can see in the photo here. Okay, and you will know if you've watched the movie that they had a lot of problems with their education because they are not smart academically, they are not strong students, and therefore they struggle to keep up with what people may find just very regular assessments and curriculum in a local Singapore school, primary school. Okay, but the movie really explores this idea of what an education should be and what an education is like in Singapore now and how it may or could be different. And I think in the course of the story and the characters exploring their own identities, all of them decided and realized that academically they are not strong, but it's okay because they are good people and they are strong or they are talented in other ways. Okay, and that's what matters. Okay, and that is what Jack Neo tries to bring across very strongly in this narrative. Okay, and what you find is interesting really is this whole series of events that happen afterwards. Okay, so in the film, Jack Neo critiques our streaming system in primary school. And during an interview, he was quoted to say, in our system, if you're not good, then you are useless. Okay, and that is very true in the context of a regular school here in Singapore. Okay, but after the movie came out and after further dialogue following that movie, we find some interesting changes that took place. So 2 years later, 2004, EM1 and EM2, they were merged, or rather they were done away with. So MOE came out to say, we're not going to continue with the streaming of students into EM1 and 2. We will let schools deal with this at their own discretion. So you think that this student deserves more enrichment or higher attention, it's up to you how you want to do it. But we are not going to openly identify them as EM1 students and then EM2 students. Okay, so that was first phase. 4 years later, 2008, the entire system collapsed. So EM3 was taken away from the system and therefore leaving the primary school system as it is, or as it used to be, okay, before streaming came about. And this, I think, took away a lot of stress from a lot of students and their parents, because when you were branded an EM3 kid, I remember during my time, when that happens, it's essentially the same as you going to ITE, which is of course something that is also changing, okay, with the Skills Future initiative, with the government promoting continual learning and how learning should not stop in schools. And even though you may graduate with a certificate from ITE or a diploma from Poly, It doesn't mean you are not as good as a university graduate, because with continual learning, with lifelong learning, you can improve yourself, you can upgrade yourself and become better. And all these changes in the way the government tries to encourage people to see education in Singapore, I think has got its roots in these very early dialogues about how an overemphasis on academics shouldn't be the way to go. Okay, and I would say even though Jack Neo did not directly impact these policies, he contributed to the changes of the policies in his own ways. So some credit should still go to him because of his exploration of these issues and his very clear critique of them. It got people to talk more and perhaps even the ministers to think about it more. And that was how change came about. Where is Jack Neo going to head towards? I would like to imagine that he is venturing into new areas with this new film, with long time ago. And that's just my hypothesis. I'm hazarding a guess that this marks a move away from the slapstick, the very appealing to the masses kind of topics and materials that he has been rehashing for many of his movies. And that's a lot of movies actually, more than 20 of them. And I kind of imagine that he is going to look at things that are also important, but in a way that's very different because it's also very serious and it becomes socially very relevant to us. Right? Whether you be young, middle-aged or old. So things like the role of women or women folk in society, family values and racial harmony. These things, of course, it's not to say that they did not come up, they did not surface in his earlier films, but they did not take center stage as some of the other themes that we have spoken about. So I think with long time ago and with the new protagonist in that movie, who is a woman, okay, for the first time, he is featuring a woman who is also a widow and who has several kids, who is rejected by both her husband's family as well as her own family to an extent, and who then goes on to find herself, right, in her career and in her family, and more importantly, her own identity in society. Okay, and I find that this enterprise is beginning to become very meaningful. Okay, I am anticipating more works from Jack Neo. I hope that my guess is right and that he is going to move towards things that are serious and at the same time more meaningful for himself and maybe for the community. And that will be a good thing. Because arguably Jack Neo is the most commercially successful director in Singapore. And if he uses that influence and that track record to do something with what he has already done, okay, and he value adds to it by exploring things that are of value and of importance to a larger community in Singapore as well as overseas, then I think he is going to become one of the most important directors of our times. I'm sure he will come up with new films very soon, and we'll see where he's headed. Already in That Girl, if you notice the ending, a lot of times Jack Neo's endings are very cliche and very predictable. But from that film, you can see that it's no longer like this. And of course, the idea of nostalgia permeates very strongly in that ending sequence, right? But at the same time, you can also see this as, I guess, a maturing of his artistic abilities, the way he makes films and the way he ends them. It's not easy to end a film, just like it's not easy to end a story if you write. So, yeah, I think there are traces of that maturing in his movies, and I think it's a good thing.